many times people have signed up and then come in with new shoes they bought, and I looked at it and went, wrong shoes. Started off with an email. Now we're making a video and an email on it because it's that important. So when I start this program, it's absolutely important to buy the right shoes. Now, if you don't want to buy shoes at first, totally get it. At some point, though, you'll want to get the most out of what you're doing. So, important thing to remember here, shoes are tools. There's basically 3 types of shoes you see in the gym, right? We need to pick the right one for the right thing. To start, you need one basic shoe. It's an all-around shoe. There's lots of different models of these now, but they all share kind of they're pretty much flat, and they're stable but not rigid. Nike Metcon, Reebok Nano, the Noble trainers. Innovate makes a fitness shoe. I like the Ultra Solstice, which is actually a running shoe kind of molded into an exercise shoe because it fits my foot better. And that's really what we're looking for here. So you'll find that some people, as they get into it, will have different all-around shoes. So they may have a pair of Nobles and a pair of Nikes. One, they're like, oh, I use my Nobles for lifting mainly workouts, and then I use the Nike for anything with running and jumping in it. You don't need to go that far. But you do want to find a shoe that fits your foot, right? That's the absolute key. I cannot wear Nobles because no matter what size I get, my feet fall out of them. They're just way too wide for those. So you have to find a shoe that fits your foot. Now, as you move through, you'll find like certain shoes tend to be stiffer than others, and it's really model by model. Like I have a pair of Nikes that are great, and I have a pair that I won't wear because they break my back when I wear them. It just is dependent on what you like and what you want out of your shoe. So an all-around shoe is absolutely crucial. For most workouts, if you have a pair of like Chucks, so Converse All-Stars, you can get away with those. They're tricky, some of the longer running workouts, but I do know somebody who actually ran a half marathon in those, so it can be done. The second shoe that a lot of people get are their Olympic weightlifting shoes. Fantastic. What they essentially do is they take ankle mobility out of it because they raise the heel up, right? So they allow you to kind of stay in better position and catch heavier weights in anything that involves like a squat with an upright torso. So you're looking at front squat, overhead squat, cleans. If you get into the CrossFit track, the snatches, any of those. Right? They also are really solid and provide a nice stable platform. Some of the newer ones, some of the hybrids are a little bit more flexible because so they can be worn in workouts. Up to you which ones you get. Now, the big thing about these is they're expensive. On the high end, I think Nobles are pushing $300 now. The Nikes and the Adidas high end ones are in the $2s. They do, however, a couple options at lower end. Nike apparently now and Adidas make a lower end, like the Adidas thing called the Power Lift. They're not quite as fancy and not quite as stable, but they're perfectly serviceable unless you plan on making Olympic weightlifting your sport. The other option is there's a thing called VersaLifts, or they actually come in the Nike Metcons, is there's like a little lift that goes in the back under your heel, which will give you that increased or some degree of increased ankle range of motion, or raise the heel up to make it so you need less ankle range of motion. They do effectively a similar thing, not as well, but it's a really cheap, or if you get the Nikes, a free option to use. Now, the third thing you need is essentially a running shoe, or you don't need, you may want, I should say with this. Most of our workouts don't have massive amounts of running, so it's going to depend on you whether you feel like you need this. Now, if running is your sport and you've always loved to run, you probably have a running shoe you like. And if that hasn't caused injuries or pain or anything like that, maybe you just stick with that. I personally prefer the Ultras because they've got the zero drop, which is super effective for me, and the wide toe box. Great shoe. What you want in a running shoe is kind of up to you. There are workouts where a running shoe might be a little bit better, especially if there's some jumping and things like that. But my running shoe and my workout shoe are very similar at this point. So it's kind of up to you what you're comfortable with. It's probably the third on the list of things I would get. In fact, I might even get 2 all-around shoes before I got a running shoe. because there's very few workouts that contain so much running inside of the gym that you'll need kind of any kind of real running shoe, right? You can usually make do with a good all-around shoe. All right, so if you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, see you guys tomorrow.